I had an acting master class. This woman she played Mary Poppins on Broadway, but she was an understudy. And she said that she got a call, her mother had passed away. I don't know if there was no understudy under her or what the situation was, but it was like, I'm in makeup, I'm ready to go on. The show must go on.
No,
and
the
basically
show
plays
must.
Mary Poppins on Broadway, knowing mom just died. I have to go ahead. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. You know, it's like how challenging that is, and that's part of the commitment in show business, is that no matter what.
Yeah, and I may be wrong, but I think it's things like that has gotten our world into what it is today. The show must stop so that we can feel what we're feeling. Like, I am not gonna show up smiling when my life is falling apart. That conflicts with who I am.
And I loved it. So like a couple weeks ago, we were kind of like butting heads a little bit about where to go with the podcast. And one of the things that we've decided is we're going on a 2-month road trip, by the way.
Yay!
Yay us!
I have never driven across America.
So we're going to drive across, and then we're going to drive back across. We figure it'll be somewhere between an 8,000 and 10,000 mile trip for 2 months. Pretty exciting. We're not going to bring all of our lighting, and we're not going to bring everything with us. Let's go. Sarah's got Eco Dunia. We're selling the Lovers Journals. I also do my writing and my coaching and my filming. Started filming another little documentary. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So I thought, well, we're going to go take a hike. We're going to take a pause and see what's going to come. And the beginning of that conversation was challenging.
It was.
Because when we started this, Sarah said, let's do 100 episodes.
Without thinking, without reevaluating, let's do 100.
Let's reevaluate at 100.
Correct.
And then we got to about 65, and Sarah was like, I want to reevaluate. And I was like, well, what are we reevaluating? We said we're not reevaluating until we hit 100.
No, I said we're not.
You said, yeah, but that became a mutual agreement.
Correct.
And now it's shifting that agreement, and it's just as like this microcosm of a relationship, because a relationship is like we make certain agreements, but then the world changes, like so much happens. The pandemic hit. It can always be something, we're human beings. We're individual human beings on our own growth trajectory. And we can't expect that what we said on Tuesday was going to hold perfectly true on Thursday without regards to what happened on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And a lot happened on Wednesday in this analogy. And that was hard for me. In fact, even a lot of this stuff, just the way that we work together, there are challenges that come up. And for me, because I have more of this like American, like Western, like masculine mindset of push, push, push. Yeah, like I'm doing bench presses and my shoulder feels like it's ripping itself apart, but I said I was going to do 10 of these, and I'm going to go and injure myself in the process because I'm going to push through the challenges no matter what, which is kind of crazy. Like, it's also kind of cool, and it's kind of crazy, and it can really leave people like me injured. And I had a friend who was doing, I forget if it was a 50 mile or 50 kilometer walk in Israel. And he was like, I'm doing this, I'm getting my, he had to replace his knee or his hip. And he was like, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to push no matter what. And he got halfway through and he stopped. And here's a guy who's like super like type A, kind of, fits the alpha stereotype. He was like a special ops in the Israeli military. And he was like, wait, if I don't listen to my body, that's the reason why at my young age I had to replace a hip, because I didn't listen. I didn't know when to stop because I said I was going to do it. And it was this kind of like beautiful thing. And he was like talking about it. And I said, you actually did get to your goal. You just thought your goal was 25 miles further. It turns out where you were going was halfway there physically so that you could learn this lesson that where is my limit?
Yeah. And I think the hard thing is to learn that lesson, but to know that you're not quitting. I think that has been one of the hardest things for me, is that I want to listen and I know how to listen, but I also don't want to quit.
Right.
I don't want to quit too soon. So how do you come to that point? And I think for us going on this 2-month trip feels like the point. Feels like the point where we take a break from the way that we've done this podcast. I feel like I've been thinking about it for a while, and it feels that the way we've done it, we've got what we needed.
Right.
And the world got what it needed from us.
Right.
And I learned the lesson that I needed to learn.
Yeah. And I feel like the second thing that you just said there to me was kind of like powerful, because we didn't have any real purpose when we started this. Like, what is the end game? It was a little bit nebulous, right? It was like 100. Well, what happens at 100?
Yeah.
Why not 200? Why not 1,000? Why not 50? What happens at that point? We didn't know. But what happened during that time was this work that we did with the Lover's Journal. And like that has been an offering that I know has touched people, because we've gotten messages from people.
Yeah.
Now, from the podcast, we haven't gotten that many messages from people. We've gotten a few, and they've been really heartwarming. But more from this journal. We never would have done the journal if
without
not
for this
for
podcast.
This. And so, like, really being present in the moment. And one of the things that I just have to say that I love about our relationship is that you definitely have this tendency to say, you know what, I'm going to look at this and maybe see, like, this wasn't working exactly as I thought, so it's time to move or pivot or change or drop it or whatever, which I have so much to learn from. I also am like, I'm just lowering my shoulder and I'm plowing. And there are times where there's friction in those two things. And actually, like the other day when we were talking about it, you were like really upset at me for my way of doing it, which I think is a little bit weird in some ways, because like I need that thing that you have, but you also need this thing that I have.
I do.
And it's what makes our relationship so rad that, yeah, it grinds. It's like the gears grinding in between until we like lock into gear and like, okay, we're in sync again. And that can be really uncomfortable, but it's not a problem.
No.
And there were these moments where I'm like, I felt like the whole thing was a problem. I was like, who is this person I'm with? And you're like, who is this person I'm with? Like, I've married a stick in the mud, and I've married, and like, I've married, like, he's just so immovable and whatever. And for me, I was just like, she just like gives up. How is she like ever going to like make her dreams happen or whatever? And it's like, those are ridiculous places that we both went in that with our frustration with each other. Whereas like, but so it's almost like that this moment, and fortunately we lived in that fairly short. It was just a couple of days or something of this place of being frustrated. But out of our like completely different ways of operating, we both get to like, we basically just have this amazing life and we get to have this amazing relationship, and we both get to learn things and grow in ways. And I just want to say that there was a part of that in kind of coming out of the challenge of that was like, oh my God, like it is so nice to do things the way Sarah does them. It feels so good. And I respect how you work in those challenging ways where you don't mind just saying, you know what, I've been trying that for a long time. Clearly didn't work. Drop it, move on to something else. That's beautiful. And I love that. And I hope that some of my stubbornness or whatever brings the same kind of benefit in your life, or feeling of like steadiness that I actually got from you. Yeah,
it does. And so with that, actually in the steadiness is where I feel like I don't necessarily want to make a firm decision about the future of this podcast.
Right.
I want to do our 2-month trip, reimagine what it could be. Maybe this is our last episode. It might be, this is, who knows, like we might continue, but I know that the universe is going to reveal how we continue, because I think that in the way that we had been doing it, I got the lessons that I needed.
Right.
And so it's time to reimagine how else or what else this is going to evolve to be.
Right.
So we are not going to be around for 2 months.
We're going to be on the road and having a great time. And we certainly hope that you also have a wonderful summer. Unless you're in the Southern Hemisphere, then we hope you have a wonderful winter. And I'm really, I'm excited to see what's going to come. And I kind of want you to know, as someone who's been listening to our podcast, that we're so grateful that you have lent us your time and your ears and your feedback when you gave it. And, we're always around. We're still, at Journal for Lovers on Instagram, and we're, theloversjournal.com, and you can certainly, follow up and email us at any time, and definitely stay in touch. And let's just kind of see where this goes and take some of this reimagining from this moment into other areas of our life that are just saying, you can reimagine what's going on. You can open up, you can be curious again. You can say that everything that's come before doesn't tell me how it needs to move forward in the future. That's just been a foundation that we can stand on for the future, but not a like a railway tracks into the future.
Yeah. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for tuning in every week for the last, I don't know how long, a year and a half.
Yeah.
So
thank you again.
Thank you for letting us share ourselves with you. And who knows? We'll see what the world brings.
Yeah. And with that, have a beautiful few months full of love and joy. And we are filled with gratitude and hope to share that gratitude with you moving forward, whenever and however that may be.
Yeah.